Right, I've now got the bell housing on and the steel plate, and it's pretty obvious that we're going to have a starter motor issue. Starter motor to go into there, that's not going to go, and I can't use the steel plate because I'm also using effectively a non-standard flywheel with ring gear. The starter motor I've in fact purchased is a Power Master Torque, for want of a better word or better thoughts, and it's a 9603. I don't know what it says on the outside. It says it's for 157 tooth flywheel, which is what I've got, so that's a good start. That's it. I don't know if I can get it up so you can see it. I'll show you the box in a minute. Part number is 9603. It's a Master Torque. It's Ford, 2-ear mounting with a 157 tooth flywheel, 3/4 inch depth. So I'll try not to get in right front of the camera. That's the beastie there. Obviously I've got to do it so I can get to the electrical connections. I don't know if I can zoom in or out. Oh, that's better. Let's just take the camera back a bit, and perhaps you can see what we're doing. Right, so I'm going to have to mount it somewhere about there. Now, if I can use one of these holes that's already tapped into the bell housing, that will be good. So if I just loosely line it up with the bottom one, and so that would go in that position there. I am able to rotate the body in relation to the ears there. The other route is to go on the top one and come up. I'm not sure which at the moment, but I think the first task is going to be to cut this plate. So I'll trim it round, straight across and across the other side, so we lose the bottom bit. One of the bits I didn't show, I forgot to film it, was fitting the pilot bearing. So that I bought as a separate item. To fit that, I put the pilot bearing in the deep freeze, so it went down to about -20, and I gently played a blowtorch around the end of the crank until it was warm to touch. Put some copper grease on the inside, offered it up, and then with a large socket on the outside, just gently tapped it in, and it slid in really nice and easy. You've got to be fairly quick so that the heat doesn't heat up the bearing, or the bearing doesn't cool the crank down. But doing it that way, I suppose there were probably about, if I got this to 50, that was -20, it was about a 70-degree difference, which is enough to make that a nice fit. Right, so next job now then is to mark out where I'm going to cut this. I'm going to guess what I will do is I'll mark it, so I'm going to cut it all the way round, so it ends up just one piece that goes round. In fact, that's a bit like what I can remember on the Ford 4-cylinder engines. So that's what I'll do now. Right, I've trimmed the steel plate, and that's quite a nice fit on there, which does mean, of course, I can fit the flywheel and I don't have to worry about this going off and on. Right, so I need to put the flywheel back on. I didn't do the clutch, as we're only going to be looking at the starter motor interface. Right, I've now sorted out how I'm going to mount my starter motor, but it has a recess, as you can see, which is 4mm deep and 110 diameter. So I've now got to, on the bell housing here, I've marked it up where the actual circle's got to be cut. So I've got to cut 4mm deep. I'm lucky that my machine is a CNC milling machine, which I've built myself, and we're running Mach 3 software, which I can thoroughly recommend, although it's very, very old these days. What I've done is through the wizard I've set up a straight circle of that diameter for 4mm deep, which I'll be running. I won't show it all, so I'll cut effectively the width of the cutter, which is 9 mils, 4 mils down. Then I'll put another circle in which is a bit less and do it again and again. There's a bit of a waste because there's a lot of air cutting around here, but it's time is my own. So let's start. Right, so we're all set up. I've set the tool just to kiss the material. So program is loaded. So the first thing it will do is safe, move to this location, do a plunge cut, 0.2, and then do one circle, 0.2, one circle, 0.2, and so on. Well, that's what I hope is going to happen. Here we go. Right, so we're ready to do it. I'll just start the machine up. Once the machine's running, I can't talk because it's a bit loud. As you can see, the material isn't quite square on the base. I'm not going to worry about that. Right, now coming round to do its final 0.1 cut, which brings it to 4mm deep. Just reset itself and 4mm. Hope it goes home properly. Right, so I've set it to a smaller circle now to clean up what's there. I haven't changed any other settings, so I'll start the tool and then start the program running. Now coming round to do the final cut. Setting itself to 4mm step. I've got one little bit now left to remove, so I'll come in another 16mm diameter. Yeah, it's wasting time, but allows me to go on and do other things while it's doing that. So that's what I'll now do. Coming round now to do the final cut at 4mm, lift and retract. Coming down to 4mm now. Nearly there. Final cut, and then we'll see if the starter motor fits. Well, there we have it. Bolt it one at the back. It slots on there quite nicely. That face fits on there, and I drew a line on there where it should be, which is there. So I got a little bit, if I got it wrong, I can obviously go in. When I set it up on the flywheel, I should be drilling a hole through there, so that will become my new bolt point into the actual bell housing there. That's the plan. So we'll see how we get on. First of all, I'm going to put a pilot hole there and then use that to mark through into the bell housing, and then take it off and drill and tap the bell housing. Right, that's the starter motor pinion poking through. I've set it up so it's my new school mount with a backlash in there. The pinion is forced forward on a wedge at the moment, so now far it comes forward. So that's looking remarkably good from that side. And let's have a look at the other side now. Right, so we're in there. I've got one bolt underneath picking up on the existing bolt hole or thread in the bell housing. I've got a little bit of movement. I can rotate it in and out of mesh. So I've just got into mesh and tightened up that bottom one. So I've now got to drill through there into there and tap that so that I can then bolt it on. And then I can use the rotating screws to rotate the starter motor out of the way, so it's more in fitting with the sump area. So that's looking remarkably good. I've scribed a line down there, but what I will do is I think I will drill a pilot hole in there into this first, remount it up on here, and then use that to drill through a marker pilot in the bell housing.